I just posted an article on Substack and it is in the description. It's called a Declaration of Moral Secession. You cannot demand anything from me because you already took everything without asking. Before you speak of me of duty, stop. Before you invoke the social contract, the obligations of citizenship, the debt I owe to society, the sacrifice required for me for the common good, stop. Before you tell me what I must pay, what I must give, what I must endure in silence for the privilege of existing, stop and ask me one question first. Ans- Answer me one question first. When did I agree to any of this? Not when did the law say I agreed, not when you deemed me old enough to be bound. When did I, this specific consciousness, this person who did not exist and then suddenly did, when did I consent to the terms of my own existence? You brought me here without asking. This is the first fact. Everything else follows from it. But the theft did not begin at birth. Before I existed, I was beyond the reach of every system that now claims a piece of me. There was no one to constrict, no one to tax, no one to deny exit to. My parents ended that. By creating me, they handed me to you, to your systems, your demands, your violence. They did not just give me life, they made me available to everyone who was waiting to extract from it. There was no me to ask. That is precisely the point. You reached into the void and pulled out a person and handed that person a bill. I did not consent to being born. I did not consent to the body I inhabit, the country I appeared in, the language installed in me before I could evaluate it, the name placed on me before I could refuse it, the religion or the absence of religion, the social class, the economic system, the political arrangement, none of it. I arrived and it was already done. Now let's talk about what was taken. From the moment of my birth, this system began extracting. My labor was not a free exchange, but as a coerced transaction backed by the credible threat of violence. My time, over 100,000 hours of it, spent serving arrangements I never ratified. My body, subject to conscription, to regulation, to incarceration if I deviate from rules I did not write. My death, even that is not mine to choose on my own terms. And this is the full shape of the crime. I did not consent to enter, and you will not permit me to leave. The protected state of non existence was taken from me at the beginning. The right to return to it is denied to me at every moment after, not by abstraction, but by you, the public that votes to keep me enslaved, that authorizes the violence that holds me here, that calls its own comfort a moral consensus. I was pulled in without asking, and I am held here without asking. The entire span of a human life, from the first breath to the last, is coercion, not a gift, a sentence. You took my labor and called it contribution. You took my compliance and called it citizenship. You took my silence and called it consent. You took my inability to leave and called it belonging. A thief who takes everything you own and then asks for gratitude is not owed gratitude. They are owed nothing, less than nothing. I do not say this in anger. Anger would imply I expected something different. I say this as a simple statement of accounts. The ledger exists whether or not you acknowledge it. The debt is real whether or not you intend to pay it. And your refusal to pay does not eliminate what you owe, it eliminates what I owe you. You will say every generation inherits the world as it is. You will say no one consents to be born. This is simply the human condition. You will say the alternative to an imperfect society is chaos, and surely you prefer what we have. I have heard all of this. None of it is an answer. To say no one consents to be born is not a defense of the system, it is the indictment. You are admitting that the foundation of every obligation you seek to impose on me rests on a transaction that was never voluntary. You are telling me openly that the entire architecture of duty, law, civic responsibility, and social debt is built on a moment that bypassed my will entirely. You are not describing a social contract. You are describing an inheritance of coercion passed down through generations, each one told to be grateful for what the previous one imposed. And to say I should prefer this to chaos is to give me a choice between two things I did not choose and call it freedom. This is not freedom. This is the logic of the kidnapper who says, you should thank me because outside is dangerous. You will also say, you are being selfish. I admit it. I put myself first. The market puts itself first. The state puts itself first. The public that votes in support of human enslavement puts itself first and calls it civilization. Everyone in this arrangement is already doing exactly what I am doing. The only difference is that I am not pretending otherwise. I have no desire to harm anyone, but I will not sacrifice myself for a world that has never once asked what I wanted. I am not here to collect. I know you will not pay. I have no illusion that you will one day convene a court, review the ledger, and issue a check for the years extracted, the labor taken, the exit denied. That is not the point. The point is the debt cancels the obligation. That is all. That is everything. You want me to vote to participate in the arrangement that extracts from me and call it self-governance. You want me to pay taxes cheerfully to fund the tools of my own enslavement and call it civic duty. You want me to serve on your juries to legitimize a legal system that has never once served me and call it duty. You want me to feel pride in institutions that have never asked for my consent and have never needed it because they have always had my compliance at gunpoint. And you want me to smile while I do it. Do not ask me to smile. You have not earned it. A smile is an expression of goodwill, and goodwill is something that must be earned. You have taken my labor, my time, my body, my exit, and now you want my expression too. That account is empty. You spent it before I knew it existed. You want me to feel I owe something to a system that has never once acknowledged what it owes to me. No, the debt runs the other way. And until you support my liberation, until you stand for my right to exist on my own terms, or not at all, do not ask me for anything. I will not harm those who have not harmed me. That is not your law speaking, that is mine. I owe that to other people who are in the same position I am, brought here without asking, extracted from without consent, told to be grateful for the privilege. We are all in this together, and my ethics toward them comes from that solidarity, not from your violence. But beyond that, the positive duties, the sacrifice, the productivity, the loyalty, the devotion to a common project I never joined. You will have to look elsewhere. That account is closed. It was closed before I opened it. And this extends further than you might expect. Do not enslave me to this world and then tell me I must be enslaved more ethically. That is a term of my enslavement, not an offer of freedom. That I must eat differently, live differently, subordinate my appetite to your moral preferences. You do not get to impose existence and then impose ethics on top of it. Those who force me here without asking and those who force me to remain have no standing to tell me how to live, what is in between. You also do not get to draft me into your causes. That account, too, is closed. I'm not asking you to recognize this. I'm not petitioning a court. I'm not waiting for the law to catch up for what is true, and I am not trying to change any of it. Let me be clear about that last part. This is not a call to arms. This is not a manifesto for revolution. I have no interest in changing this world. That would require caring about it in a way it has not earned. Reformers care. Revolutionaries care. I am neither. The world may continue exactly as it is. Its elections, its tax codes, its wars, its unjust laws, its state oppression, its democide, its moral fashions, Its endless appetite for participation. I wish it well. I simply will not be feeding it. I am not your enemy. I am your absentee. You have force. I am not confused about that force. I am not confused about that. Force and legitimacy are not the same thing, and the fact that you can compel my body does not mean you have a claim on my conscience, my cooperation, my moral allegiance. You can take what you can take. You cannot take what I have already withdrawn. History is full of arrangements that have force and lack legitimacy. We know their names now. We teach them in schools as cautionary tales, which is its own kind of irony because the children being taught those lessons are sitting in compulsory attendance in a system they did not choose, learning about the wrongness of compulsion. Every empire believed its own legitimacy was self evident. Every system of extraction has called itself civilization. The confidence of power is not the same as the validity of the claim. I am not the first person to say this. I will not be the last. But I am saying it clearly without the softening language that philosophy sometimes wraps around hard truths to make them more palatable to the people they indict. You brought me here without asking. You extracted from me without consent. You denied me as in on my terms, and now you stand before me with a list of things I owe you. The world may remain exactly as it is. It is not entitled to my participation. You will ask, what about the suffering of others? Do you not have a duty to help? Do you not have an obligation to help make this world a better place? No, and here's why. People suffer in this world primarily because of their attachment to it, attachment to outcome, to permanence, to the idea that existence is something worth clinging to. That attachment is a choice, even if it does not feel like one. I cannot be expected to become attached alongside them in order to relieve a suffering that attachment itself produces. To devote myself to making the world a better place will require me to care about this world, to invest in it, to want things from it, to bind myself to it. That is precisely the trap. That is precisely what I have escaped. My detachment is not indifference to other people's suffering. It is the only position from which I can survive my own. The person who becomes attached to this world in order to fix it ends up in the same position as everyone else, extracted from, burdened, eventually broken. They will have traded their peace for a project that was never theirs to begin with, in a world that will not thank them for it. The only thing I have going for me is that I have detached. That detachment is my peace, and no one has the right to take it from me, especially after taking everything else. You cannot ask me to reattach in order to serve you. You cannot ask me to pick the weight you created and carry it for you. The world does not become my responsibility simply because I am in it against my will. If anything, the involuntary nature of my presence here removes whatever obligations my presence might otherwise imply. The only way through this is to let go. I have let go. This is not a failure. This is the only rational act available to someone who sees clearly and refuses to pretend otherwise.